Uppercase D, lowercase d. Capital I, lowercase e, lowercase d, lowercase r, capital R. Got it. Financial issues going by the U.S. Navy for non-partisan proposition of field opposition for greater high safety property non-partisan 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 and made for the right plan which is that I want to for non-partisan way I see that the party community seems to them the U.S. government on my home to the other day had solution with the U.S. party let's open our application as international student U.S. for people putting on the ice and going and then breaking cost of work I wear in her return clear. When the ICPS now I work with the for registration the ICC or strategy for the that'll go to the work by me and have people on the course and walk back the community work the good of the unfound which we're doing versus the data for the student versus completely much that's what we like to do yeah the play that thing will like to believe work or the next girl they work the company a powerful staff will be also should actually like for second is that's the AM civil and public kill millions of people death is here 24. Middle East Asia were affected by Syria, Ethiopia, Egypt, conflict of 1.9 million deaths that's happened compared to the Marlborough, 1/3 around 1.2 million on the it said that's in detention 2 is used to find US eradication of domestic transport of the third and there's the work on absentee. Leadership and abuse when the effective utilities for the military and ICT to prevent the international work on the savage. They were trying to look at the government with better regulation for whatever power contributes to greater awareness. Here, ratification reducing capital to the area capital 25 to 1 contributes to consecutive files of both sides operational warranty and confidence storage reduce civilian investment for particular by points of application. Add one more HRO to reduce between 36 billion and highly the IC as a expected IC prosecution of Trump is key by supporting the movement. Max cost of Roth 121. Trump party council only said the ICC was no longer international charges against 16 million travel media, same leadership that ICC never told get arrested. Your government invades subject number of water and then US commits 4 crimes against thousands of 22 US presidential law, human rights on the war, human rights life in the US, involved greater conflict in the Middle East wars, and then invaded terrorism reported to the countries both against the Iraq Syrian war, Australia. Disaster for 2.6 million displaced 3.5 million Iraqi civilians had millions of refugees out, and took fire on the Syrian Washington, Texas, Syria, for doctors. The priority has to know repression and escape accountability infection of the Syria, expected to raise our kind of terror based human rights violations for exaction for insurance of successful as a team. A brochure gives the communities to reform complete and updated program human rights and rights and national security and acceptance of the conflict of everything and all but co-putting to organizational using the form of affiliation of the national security. Always we said that needs to check that page 22 and we works with those as a community to the road and for the very and financial video translation and then the movie only this way human side for and escalated. Please you want to do a program to direct company America commanded change over time to for and the United States also new party the Rome statute of international critical Rome needs an active investigation I see 18 people wrong state for legislation that requires removing sanctions at the court shall have to charge of individual these authorities vote restricted to express efficacy to 3 votes. The chairman's reference from the signaling properly to putting out government feature before the frequent court table will bring justice and rational and because something they would be favorable law can prevail and state the maximize the standard that is preventing atrocity crimes. We have the situation where rental until 2010 is just saying we do crimes against humanity, rights and murder, the one it's not so good come law to murder on basic affiliation or how to change their nations and sure the more on the affiliation and more basic that they have to be the one who trades and we can do is combat public legal side. Probably falling in chase of this and that public police is slippery so bad. Also impossible to the direct local police you get guidance is making an exit to protect this is found on how unhelpful data points and see humanity would and teacher 21 people in properly would be able to find the accident at we need to do with God. It's also something that we we should not send to a challenge. We don't know who's in responsibility playing role in our review on the error was actually and guess it's very full. Take the self-reliance within your unreliability of all evidence. Do not read too much into the visa responsibility take numbers of grade 12 not match anything for grown by us in rain. Now I guess it's not something we should do not know. To be possible or calculation or based on unsighted experts or logical probabilistic risk risk and also taking cycle here so improving better for that basically not trackable as it's doing very well every course action or action is possible has a possibility for teaching with probably time banking possible and all matches the T and any margin the meaning of is the meaning of the meaning of some probably for the time out number of and another how to treat 17 solid problems the records for chocolate previous support given a range of exclusive options representing even in no way longer are local rating universe. I think some individual recommending that but it takes advantage of the problems and necessity of decisions and conflict fair and complexity to tackle that's a slow scanner that fails to complete the fact to construct or reverse lynching to add most importantly people reference they just have their own page for the post which is bound to get overweight but probably high 90 to effective common biases and emotional problems that leads to your failure and ability also to as we have structural decision and something. Oh, 3 ability to run on for everything related events being here not institution reality. Oh, so I don't specific reality acknowledge. I agree with your people learn to variations of pro and local belief. Vary among 1 in 100,000, 1 million, 1 10 million federal. The total effect. Yeah.
The argument about having deepest intuitions, I guess what characterizes an intuition?
We as political animals are all I guess like navigated towards preventing atrocities and war crimes that are right in front of our faces.
So what constitutes an atrocity?
Thing is like the ICC prosecutes
like so like
crimes against
ICC prosecution defines war crimes and atrocities.
We've defined a few specific atrocities that the US has specifically committed, things like war crimes, things like.
Is there like a qualifying factor that distinguishes a bad thing from an atrocity? Like, what's the?
I guess we would say that we would define an atrocity as something that the ICC would prosecute.
Okay, so only things the ICC would prosecute are atrocities.
We would say the ICC prosecutes atrocities. The atrocities the US has committed are qualified as things that the ICC would prosecute.
Okay, but that just has to have a condition for what constitutes an atrocity. Is it just the ICC would prosecute this? Or is it like kills lots of people in that?
Well, it's the US has done atrocities.
No, I'm reading the United States has done atrocities. I'm asking what constitutes an atrocity.
We've provided specific examples about what
I don't want example. I want to know what constitutes an atrocity crime so that I know how to meet the standard of preventing them.
Sure. I guess. Yeah, sure. The things that the ICC prosecutes: crimes against humanity, genocide, aggression.
Right. Genocide, like what constitutes that?
Genocide is the mass murder of a group of people based on their identity.
The ICC card says normal means is enacting domestic legislation. This is the plan.
The plan you just feel that we ratify that.
Okay, for ratification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or that we accede, or yeah, we accede to the ICC.
Okay, what does that look like? Like, what does it mean to become party?
That looks like acceding to the international.
Okay, like senators vote on it, or is it like a CEA? Like.
We don't specify become party to or the word.
It says normal means is domestic legislation.
Yeah, but that's after we become party to. We said that the Rome statute also requires after that there's domestic legislation.
Okay, the compound probability argument, how do we differentiate between which atrocities to prevent?
We say that we don't the ICC prosecutes all of them. I'm not sure why we need to differentiate between the two.
Well, so like if the ICC could prosecute Trump for like doing war crimes against Russians, but could also prosecute the Russians for doing war crimes against Americans. But
We
could only
would
pick
say
one.
that the US being able to join the ICC allows them to do that.
Wait, how?
It removes the immunity interpretation. The immunity interpretation says that the ICC is not able to
Okay.
prosecute non-members.
The genuine evidence says it sends an international signal which deters aggressors. Why does this solve like domestic reasons for going to war?
Oh, domestic reasons, we've read a few claims. One is we've said that it makes it just unfeasible for leaders like Trump to be able to go to war because
Okay, why?
he knows that he would have to, like, insurmountable costs imposed on him. He would not be able to leave the US. None of his advisors would be able to leave the US, and he would just like, risk fear of being brought to the Hague.
Okay. Awesome. So, three, then the framing stuff, then the. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Hey. Indication of death impacts is a threat to accessibility causing active violence against community of color, you should neck to deter since 2016 options research and fairness in class since we require creators and accessibility ways common. 17 then murder prejudice and growth behavior rate value making everybody believe rigid again murder will get to another thing like stereotypes African people color annihilation to terminate after literally the other certain anxiety about reminding increase aggression towards people behavior become more aggressive sales person in response to license warning to security charge or occupation MS increases violent nuclear chemical weapons towards maintenance of non-conforming charges rather than resolution only if wrong. Next up. The app must suspend both the ICC and UCLOS, Illinois 16, and or shall be and whenever possible. Neg for precision, jettisoning resolution requirements, administrate in critical cases, moving neg crap zero fairness, reject key pursuits, and the one strategy. Was plot, meeting in terms of consent, talk, special models, no RBIs, first meeting, enforce theory skills education, no one theory, two area newness, making the term not possible, force a minute for 10-second blips, reducing neg campaign substance, enforce theory crowd out, and seven, disclosing in terms of one secret exposed to all predictable because it's on the wiki, condo's good, adverse laziness, and good every necklace, 16. Next up. The 58th United States President to request legal opinion over membership of the Rome Statute of the ICC. The Office of Legal Counsel should publicly advise the Executive and Congress to become a member of the Rome Statute that competes and solves accountable lawyering, revitalizes credibility and transparency. Owens 20. Oaths of authority and advice and proposed action for helping candidates full advice direct students and obligations right. The best view of the law, the Trump is troubling will season extremely fairly sensible, but try it on the line of restoring status quo and for independent professional legal advice would require recommitment to North investment will also commit to presumption of publishing opinions, publication enhances transparency to ensure accountability, open policy up to scrutiny that can help prevent politicization publishing. When admin relates to policy, shows that major policies will help Congress and the public understand the legal basis for executing actions and hold the also accountable. Nuclear war code 16, the lawyer's role in negotiating litigation law national networks to improve effectiveness and apparent transparency, norms to be effective not to advise the public supporting the action of the government. Lawyer tasked to interpret the shape by law as an interpreter action officer, negotiator, or thank you. Institutions that offer disputes and policy lawful prompt public disclosure should be the norm, not exception. The default rule should be opinions published should publicly published. We should want memorials rational one should it's not those talk rationalization all seems to be better policy avoiding nuclear conflicts for negotiations that organizes to a conclusion legal opinion facilitate best policy options solve case better because ensures accountability which prevents war crimes. OC opinion do not force law or policy rather answer executive questions solving. 21. OC is not a final word concerning policies nor does it enforce any law. Its whole function is advice to the opinion itself in terms of no right obligations or consequences. Opinions are pre-directional and deliberate advice addresses questions. Become party to a process of the force spirit. 20. Actions can be taken to become party to a treaty job. New legislation for ratification. This was also when you see evidence the United States is indivisible. Miller 86. Meetings unstable. The U.S. is simple and the government. The U.S. is not be good with any one branch. Each is individual. They sacrifice reputation. Let's say quote normal means is an act of domestic legislation. Hold them to that. Outcome is bad. Kills next strategy. And so we shoot first shoot. Functional limit is best plans. Specifically eliminates all generic and impossible burden against the amount that destroys barriers and encourages small cases. Did not stop. Bring. Conceded arguments are true. Anything else they said are imaginary leads to deterrent probability. So don't check out on big things vague without sufficient defense. We debate about extinction but never create gearbox and strengths always come to decision. Which terminal defense, no reflexive means towards the curve before non-potential death is bad. Nature which is not life for minimal security, focusing on accident risk. It's psychologically valuable cousin. 20. Special correctness is the many future foreclosed by sellers, Mitchell chapter, the kind of literature concerned with preserving European wave like electricity risk and abstract example of intentions. I work with a few creatures that can point about face of the country that was the space. Work on creatures special discuss their work. War is the launch of property wardrobe. 22. War represents the CC as the counter trust not get the war leads to atrocities and war and atrocity are linked inextricably to the ends to atrocities for the lost war itself. Those lives understand that the atrocity of war motivates us for atrocities and those morally not have to observe the children laws of war. We need to about war altogether reject the framework. It creates an untenable burden for the negatives. The only things that the ISIS atrocities are offensive under the framework, which makes only ad offense relevant and skews the negative strategies. Motivation for deterrence. No decision to law counterfactual small part. 8. Use counterfactual analysis with the probable and ballistic thinking and plan structuring best to rules are rated excess is one is called minimal regret this what is reasonable and postulating and after coaching for nuclear war of action suggest possibility is equitable. It is possible that action must be possible if experiment can be intelligent, but extreme event can be enhanced. Counterfactual not be speculation, possible should make good use of experts. Predictions are possible linear predictions are proven to work and IR short on 5 examination may predict the arguments of drama source non complexity show that there are no proofs of arguments because their predictions impossible and IR review of the tax prediction of the argument fundamentally flawed and the consequence of the prediction allow closer prediction prediction don't the 1 year of their cherry pick examples continuous to just broader trends i.e. Iraq wars one specific example does not put broader trends like the planning of DA and other pages the case proper. The plan changes the executive leader which more pieces to say power but now let's have 17 ISIS reputation not prevent atrocity intervention influence state retreat be sit down the whole or get on power with the ICF it's not confirmed and no changes since the last the term that very more positive reflexive answer their arguments about motivation brings to address this healthy marketplace foreign policy ideas discussions about potential security generally pragmatic but foreign policy solutions will be toxic for policy change of judgments and Iraq war like new strategy for short stability intense dispute between more beyond and option will be trying to execute condition market large interruptions personally knowledge and memory of the policy makers diverse network of experts and research institutions offer views ranging from right left note endless war congressional checks on war making force plausible cause credits not all since it does not influence the reasons behind war kills in Germany first will be done below war crimes cannot be solved by the ICC cases take agents to Russia China whenever you possibly prosecuted there's a reservoir for Putin Mongolia supporting the treaty you want Mongolia was welcome but proves no solvency China only cooperates with outcomes beneficial the second becomes average they'll work to erode it either would be China must not constantly stability with certain pressure to the United States and the international arena risk China might not extreme about law which can reach or completely by the law of friends and not run by other conventions not going to prevent war back simply any kind of corporation except the values of the day we don't know what total war will look like we don't have to let go we mainly begin to have strong ways we start to get out of control asphalt nothing no bad official would give up Trump who's in party taking on offensive prosecution triggers Haiti patient low perspective the SCP consumer getting list use my company incubation action collective states if any American is roughly the SCP United States will invade the node silver then that causes good part and I think actually 24 Americans with the SCP in working out we do give more credit to also institution back to allies it's growing against the American empire simply within the US very big to hasten the end of US empire that turns in mathematics with the option that caused a number of existential crises, right? Including Christian crash, safety, civil regional security, increasing capability, general rights, national activity, nuclear power, new and agriculture, conflict, applications, or possible whole organization, and insurance, serve well for protecting plus segregation and mutual benefit. Pulling back the security competition and surveillance and original comments and because of the time about the back for it. James and adding on to conflict in first place. The other behavior something pull back like the bond and policy. We're looking at radiation to Russian test matters and to consider that nuclear proliferation challenge along the party wars and children and parents deterrent. Seems like the transfer of nuclear accident close proximity of children for something called migration, violent decision, high nationalism, and Europe withdrawal and domestic African themselves under regional boundaries, property for protection. And those within NCA spheres and influence and American civil life communication and China and also movement our previous policies working and it's unsustainable. The ICC bans these weapons at 828. I still want to use of these weapons and war crimes to prevent terror. Next, these works provide every position just as more active, flexible, work with drones there. Potential in one battery job and expecting to work together as one of drones experience population that causes miscalculation extinction floor. To the use of bigger major enemy resources opening and that's what we're weapons and for itself from its work taking nuclear projectile violent. So just the control nuclear on highlands will making the nuclear war more likely trade collapse causes extinction. What can you bring in and what's it good bring another each conflict all each economy crack potential environment health policies over and deliver the policies in the American against backwards my dog that global efforts that would only transfer future more very let's make more changes effects for have been from that's cascade which is in the present first education of language aggregate. The last term is market aggregate.
Good to know.
Yeah.
What cards were skipped on these? Laser tool. The ICC bans laser weapons and after that skipped.
Yeah, wait. Brooks and Wolford was skipped. Form 24 was skipped. Then
Wait, just after the six.
Keller
After laser.
Keller and Feldman.
Okay, cool. I guess. The first off, or actually, what is the OLC?
The Office of Legal Counsel, it's an advisory branch that can answer executive questions.
Got you. I guess why to revitalizing their power over the ICC? Why is that key?
Well, our evidence is about judicial transparency. So giving the public the ability to see the reasoning behind like legal actions, all these things require OLC rulings.
Why does the OLC need to be the internal link to transparency?
The Owens evidence says only the OLC makes decisions public that Trump politics are really defensible
Why
because
did
they're
Trump
shut
not make
credibility.
decisions?
Well, Trump has not done so.
Okay, sure, that's fine.
Like decisions are not public, so
Okay, sure. Why does public decisions and transparency not like?
the co-evidence makes a claim about like judicialism and lawyering and how that enables effective litigation.
Wait, but why is there like
Rights.
transparency in that?
Because transparency gives public litigants the grounds for suits so that they can file suits and have an understanding of what cases are being ruled on.
Okay, sure, I guess so in order to get the impact, do suits have to be made?
No. Our argument is that threat of litigation from public sectors because of transparency would be sufficient to compel better public policy.
Okay, sure.
Also, we made a secondary internal legal argument
Wait,
about
where
OLC advice.
Where can we make the threat of litigations? Got better performance.
Yeah, the co-evidence is it's facilitated better nuclear policy by spurring negotiations.
Wait,
And that the
that's
legal
not
litigants
where-
facilitated
that
better
part is
policy.
not about transparency. Where does it
No,
say?
code is about facilitating better policy through negotiations, which
Okay.
requires public information.
Okay, sure, I guess that's fine.
It also says lawyers would not just interpret, shape bylaw, and as interpreters, they would be action officers, negotiators, and architects of institutions and arbiters of entities.
That's fine. Case, I guess, predictions are possible. What types of predictions is this car are possible? What types of predictions is this car talking about?
Well, we can make predictions about state behavior, how they'll respond to things,
Wait,
the
wait.
risks associated with things.
Okay, that's fine. China is worse. What is the implication of that argument?
The Horn evidence makes a claim about Chinese settler colonialism in regions like Tibet and regions like and the things like BRI and killing Uyghur Muslims. The argument we would have made is that hegemony is necessary to prevent China from expanding.
Okay, it's not the argument.
Yeah, the court was not right.
That's fine, and I'll take. Any voters besides the like framework thing?
Yeah, Anaconda. And then Topicality.
Can you read Anaconda? Or what is that?
What?
What-
Oh, well, the argument was permutation of sever legislation.
Okay. Why when legislation, you know, you forego or impeachment computations?
Well, our argument is that the LLC cannot be done through legislative mechanisms, so there usually is.
318 coming out. The order is T, the K, or case.
Is your own case Brandon? Brandon, top value, the things you have.
After T.
Sorry?
What's after T?
The T coming out. Ratification with media completion that says the international signal transgression globally drops which should filter out most of the defenses is only about the ICC and statutory but also the US to be prosecuted for domestic violations of human rights that kill millions. Now the framing page first is that it's not first is the evidence is terrible. It's not say that first it only be valuable. It's true. We'll prove that we'll prove that probability matters more. We'll prove that probability matters more. Or it's largely across the not matter. We prove that probability matters more. Plus we are to form the ICC. It does not matter. No specific law is also terrible. This is just another reason why conflicts and sanctions also be they drop that any big numbers it could massively inflate their analysis. It means that it's already thought predictions are possible. It's not the concept of long links because it is either predictions are specific to super extreme like analysis about the future. Their decides are literally jokes. They are literally jokes. Now case. First is the changes the incentives of leaders responsible for machine solve part with the use of that reduces people because people's internal backlash from many. Like seeing published take their responsibility making people in shopping power the president more people more it removes the bonus things the government people off it grows stronger when C2 is also wrong the no people by China not cooperating that's not what our whole self-communication on. I mean do you want to credit warrants for the board super specific warrants and pure when you see evidence no warrants invasion is also not prosecution invasion is also wrong normal needs to be all like the media hate invasion access will invade it's not part of the ICC and also change that hate invasion act 2 is from the international law treaty it's not from the parties only the US is not party and feel self-link because they dropped the ICC 98 court that said that we cannot retaliate against support of the China's versus also relatively to the main ICC it's like reference the LN part which is the impacts that other things saw this too like directed energy which ICC not solved the successful drone thing solved causes this happen so there's no impact for it and and also the one yes way actions for the alternative person to show something that need to keep their sending launch to be at once and I think the person who directs often be special data researchers for the decision education and research the optics and they also have an issue for they definitely against back race bears so sorry go back to the framing page the framing is not about to be specified what atrocity crimes are and how I see them specifically read them because we cannot just frame out of all of the impacts we obviously have to use it probably obviously outweighs happened that can't solve the applicant material implications like we solve of ICC self your death is powerfully motivating passion control dedication on to three. Individuals initiate your death leash development defense incorporation control because heading messages and human experience and relational considerations awareness of calculating the control for very long perspectives can make more for the time finally conflict which is turning out things wisdom passion gratitude and control greater and think of her and FDT. One counterfeit means and means or commemorative trait used to be words with each other or individually your evidence is not precise it's on the TV for one argument that there is but after two agreement one is for recalling innovation and already being finished use background and two take out of one frequent trace debate one phrase really anything else and my target documentary based on professional argumentation and sorry again conditionality is not the voter we have not said conditionality or we have definitely not feeling that we have to address legislation just said that the ICC requires this legislation but it's not matter because they not read any office not your bar office what domestic legislation what's up one is for motion for two from the Brooklyn 3 is for the average tackling and also supposed to avoid that whole picture and next last one being for the speed test and it can solve one for checking needs the US said your signal for us with Mitchell Biden rules for justice anything else with citizens consulted after we plan class for world from our current science in Italy and French or even entities we all are all working as job charts do the plan counseling when results within that's the main the entirety of the
32 was just the term, wait, was it? Wait, there's some. Okay,
Or there was.
government was other painful terms like TWs, no impact in stop, no.
Yeah.
Okay, doors, the contention, the framing arguments, Totality. The death criticism. The odds and counter. Yeah. Drop impact means start at 100. The only winner impact is no impact is calculation wrong. Our says that miscalculation makes the risk of nuclear first strike more likely. They drop the nuclear first strikes cause atrocities from the above pages. The one is the evidence that says that wars are kind of atrocities and that those nuclear escalations will cost the lives of thousands of people. Now the framing issue is they drop non-consensual death bad. You cannot vote negative when they conceded that you do not have the jurisdiction to say that people should die as long as we win risk of a link, and then the impact should be sufficient because we win sufficient in the state. Now magnitude outweighs because the plan results in more deaths, which outweighs on magnitude because life is qualitatively important, and so we should determine impacts based on death count. 2 is probability. The link was just dropped, and there was barely an argument on this in lawyer, which means the risk of us solving our offense is qualitatively just so much larger than their third time frame. Drones won't try now. DWs are the only method to repel them, which means as soon as the United States is DW. Like Iran, North Korea, and China will launch cheap drone strikes against us, causing miscalculation. The defensive argument was an assertion with no warrant. The next argument was the first argument was DEW solve drones. DEWs are a form of laser weapons. Ask yourself what directed energy means. It means a laser weapon that directs photons at different sources like drones. They do not have part of this. It's an assertion. And one evidence is obviously the context of lasers, which is why it cites somebody from the Boeing laser department. The next argument was that there was no impact miscalculation. Obviously, yes, impact, which was not above, and no, it was just an assertion without a warrant. You can see the plan would implement binding legislation that forces the United States to comply with those terms, and that legislation outlaws the use of laser weapons. Now, if it's not binding, the Sharia is no link that you should vote neg on circumvention. Drop that nobody would ever overturn Trump or the administration that nobody would overturn Trump or the administration to the ICC, so they would never be able to prosecute us because we would never go in the first place. The case proper. The term was basically dropped, but one error card said absolutely nothing. Conceded that the risk, and there will concede their inherent arguments about ICC and effectiveness now, and the United States joining an equally better constitution about annexation. The problem is they just missed the vote on most of our offense about ICC bad. Dropped an effective ICC threatens third world war people and dictators, and then those people will double down with aggression. One error card also agrees. It says, quote, when shock damages the populist regime's popularity, that regime must resort to ever more overt oppression and perpetuates power. And it says that this is a crime of atrocity, which means that the term certainly outweighs. The one error card does not get them any offense. The closest it gets is that the opposition of people grows stronger, but does not get to a point where it says that opposition would ever be able to overturn the entrenched government, which has guns, military weapons, etc. would not be overturned because they would obviously just become more oppressive and they would perpetuate the power of the people, which means their offense is worse for human rights violations and worse for war crimes. The link was also dropped. Their evidence agrees that people would respond to regime shocks by perpetuating oppression, which means that their offense is just not solved by voting affirmative. Now, the next argument was that they solved domestic violence wrong. Conceded that nobody would overturn Trump to other places. Considering all that happens is they would implement legislation that bans us from doing a bunch of stuff. Not that we would arrest people like Trump, because nobody would overturn it. We would be unable to use DEWs, but we would still go to war because Trump would feel insulated, which is remain in the United States. The next argument was doesn't change incentives. None of this was responsive to. This was our one-year argument. The congressional war power. The Congress has control of the war powers, which means they determine reasons why we go to war, and the executive already proposed good reasons to go to war, which is why we never just invade North Korea every time Trump feels like this. Which means that there's no risk of their offense about endless wars. It's solving statu quo by congressional war powers. The next argument was no reason China is relevant. We're not going for the head scenario. You can see how it's all linked, but this is not offensive because there's no risk of the status quo. It's going to prevent a unique harm because they've never prosecuted us and we're not party, which is their unique interpretation stuff. The China stuff, they're not a link, they're not really hard to head stuff, irrelevant, no link, no risk of link turned on love, and can't retaliate is relevant to our impact term because it's about third world countries who are not bounded by durable fiat and they can do whatever they want. The top county page. Dropped. Oh, wait, there's something before. Oh, framing. They dropped unconsensual death bad, which means they acknowledge their offense have DOEs, but the other argument is that we should have offense under their framework and they've not answered it sufficiently. But again, also consider that their frameworks are arbitrary classes to ours because the only way we can determine what is a larger and more probable risk is through link debate. Consider that you should not intervene, and that dropped arguments are true if we're waiting a higher probability for a link, then their epistemological index are relevant since voting on those would be interventionary. Also dropped that judges always come to a correct decision at the end of the debate. They do not deliberate endlessly, which means it is possible to come to a consensus, and you should do so in this debate for the purpose of debate. The other argument was yes, the proper ton relevant, not going for it. The impact is death is unconsensual, which they dropped. The next one was war equals unlikely. This is an assertion without a warrant. Conceded drop arguments are true. They dropped did that. The next one was gridlock because probability times magnitude. I don't know where they get this mathematical equation from. One and two did not say infinite future generation or infinite magnitude. Just that unconsensual death is bad. Our impact is also not extinction. Just a huge quantity of people dying from nuclear weapons. So our magnitude is also larger, and probability is determined by link debate, which was done above. And the probability of our scenario is much more likely than theirs, since the 1 year explanation was very very light, basically drop the term case argument. The next argument was predictions are possible, but only about analysis, not bad dissets. But there's not a complex link chain to understand planet man, that which solves Z. That is two arguments, and that is a two causal link chain, and they have engaged in even more probable link chains, which is becoming party would require binding legislation, which would result in correcting trouble, which would deter us from going to war. Obviously, there's fall victim to predictions if possible. Again, predictions should and possibilities should be determined by links meetings. Next argument, specificity of atrocity crimes is good, but again, consider there's no guideline for this, and we should use a framework like ours, which is better. Drop no one area theories, none of the issues can be the Twitter conceded is irresolvable, consider the Twitter, because the Twitter gets new answers, which makes it negative and never wins. You also drop net flexibility, the negative can be forced to overcover theory, which makes substance wins impossible, which is that fairness. Now, this means we should protect fairness, also concede a terminal defense to their offense, and then you can disclose interpretations before the debate that we will beat them, which prevents theory debates. Now, please they not go for any of the voting issues, topicality, no RBI, not going for conceded RBI for bad, they encourage debating, no death critique, no violation, will kick it was conditional, that's not fiat, any the alternative is just rejections with not vague, there's no one here three done above, you also count the there's conduct.
Okay, wonderful. Framing the mention like salty stuff and
Okay.
framing the like Trump sort of mentioned salty stuff than drones. Any information class I see to prosecute countries more broadly. This is key they can prevent domestic violations of the right to kill millions. Most importantly, even if you don't buy the ends and the ends force are not true, it deters future leaders to be able to engage in crimes in the future, which means that it solves millions of deaths because they drop civil and copies of the leading cause of death and cause millions of deaths. Also drop empirical analysis that joining the ICC reduces death by about half because the probability here is at 100. Probability for extent risk analysis found all possible data points are trying to calculate something that's literally never happened. Sometimes possible and has such a low probability that you can't even estimate its price that was 2% genocide, which causes reduced risk victims by hundreds of millions or over genocide of people has clearly justified in things you should direct on basis of wood and super probably times 9 is wrong. That's what is wrong because it's super long because every action could lead to extinction that we could avoid every action that could cause extinction that we never act at all. The standard is spread against crossing crimes. It's a question of what's being prioritized under utopia. So we have said that probably comes first, which answers the non-contextual death bad stuff. So we agree that death is bad, which said that we should prioritize probabilistic things that might at least death. What then goes into church, analysis and possible I do not know how it would happen, or if it's ever happened before. She's made incredibly sexual on his face. Even Bostrom has noticed concerning our being sexual ways, and sees that you should take these with a grain of salt, because the select biases and fear of room life, legal false emphasizes, you know, it's bad, and the correct preferences doesn't even believe in it, will extend its stage for law, but when they say that we take public into account, they make it, most mining probably teaching that we should have incredible precision, which is what Lee says is absolutely impossible. They said a two causal link chain does not matter, but we're proof why the two causal link chain has absolutely no probability. So you should forego the preventing something that you know for sure causes prevents millions of deaths over something that isn't. The Trump solvency stuff. Trump solvency does not matter and does not have anything to do, but solvency within extended in the overview winner was not Trump. We do not get solvency from people submitting Trump to the court. The ICC is independently able to prosecute Trump and deters Trump from being and draw that it deters Trump from being able to lead in future war crimes to kill millions. Plus, draw that that Trump is not able to leave the United States and Trump realizes that war is not feasible in the future, which deters crimes. Like labor stuff. Labor. Drone strikes coming now is not warranted or read at all in one seat justifies news to our interest because that's not an argument made in one seat. There is not a single part or a single warrant that says that drone strikes are coming now. So you can assume that it's not possible because they have only read a part from 2019. It's not going to cut it. They have not read a part that says that anyone is invested in drone strikes or that it's possible or it's been solved since 2019. Which means you know the turn is at basically zero because you know no one is interested in drone strikes now. The democracy stuff. They have not extended a sufficient warrant as to why the ICC forces leaders to cling onto power, but populism, forces them to step back.